Rev up your engines!
Well, Kia's at it again with bad quality control. You might literally be in the hot seat. They're recalling 462,869 Tellurides because the driver's seat might start on fire. They got electric motors, they can overheat and start on fire. Literally, you would be in the hot seat in one of these. So I tell people, they keep saying, oh, the Kias, they're better made. Baloney, they have horrible quality control. You're wasting your money on one of those things. This is one's built between 2020 and 24. Let's face the facts. That's pretty modern, right? And they go, oh, they're better made now. No, they aren't. If you listen to me, you don't buy one. You don't get stuck in the hot seat of a car that the motors might start on fire. Look, we make them fancy now, says Kia. We have electronic ones. Now they might start on fire, but I mean, yeah, these things happen, right? Yeah, they do if you buy a Kia. Now, be leery about recalls because the companies that make cars want to spend the least amount of stuff they have to fix for free. So they'll say, well, yeah, we're recalling the 2020 to 2022. And then it turns out the 2023, 2024s have the same problem, but they're not fixing them for free. Hey, listen to this. Andrew Parker says, I'm experiencing something maybe your audience should know about. I bought a brand new 2024 Honda Civic hatchback. Yesterday, my vehicle broke down on the highway. Took it to the Honda dealer. They said there was a software update recall, which isn't listed on Honda website. And they also said the fuel pump needs to be replaced. Now, I know there was a massive recall for the fuel pumps, but only for 2017 to 2020 models. I'm curious whether 2021 to 2024 models have the same defective pump. They never want to cover something unless it's absolutely positively forced by the government. Of course, if they're using the same fuel pumps over all those years and they got problems, guess what? Honda doesn't make its own fuel pumps. They buy them from another Japanese company. If there's a problem, it's going to just keep going on until that problem is fixed by the people they're buying the pump from. The Japanese really started out a lot different than the Americans. Henry Ford did the thing where he wanted an integrated factory, right? He wanted vertical integration where they fixed everything. They made their own windshields for their cars. They made everything. Therefore, he could control it. The Japanese went a completely different way. They farmed it all out to different places, right? Now, if the places you farm it out to are good, great. If not, you're in trouble. Fuel pumps that were in a lot of Japanese cars, right? They're all buying it from the same company. Unfortunately, the Americans now have followed the Japanese. To cut costs, they're having a bunch of other companies make the parts. Only the Americans, at least in the past, maybe the Japanese are catching up, but in the past, the Americans were buying their parts from companies that weren't that great, and then they'd have problems because they just went for price. Give me the cheapest price you can for buying parts of the car so we can make more profit. Then it bit them in the rear end because the parts broke. Perhaps the Japanese are getting in the same frame as the Americans now. The Americans followed the Japanese where they weren't doing all the vertical integration anymore, but now the Japanese are following the Americans and buying it from companies that aren't doing such a hot job building them. It only makes sense if you got a business and you control as most as you can. Right? Vertical integration makes sense. All these software companies, they go for vertical integration. The only reason the other companies don't is because it's cheaper to do it that way, right? Guess who pays for the cheapness? We as the consumers. You buy a car, 2024 Honda, and the fuel pump went out already. Well, the Europeans are as afraid of the Chinese as the Americans seem to be. The Europeans just imposed multi-billion euro tariffs on Chinese EVs. They're afraid of the Chinese electric vehicles getting too cheap to compete what they say, unfairly. Yeah, unfairly, because the Europeans are just like the Americans. They're making expensive EVs that cost too much money. And if you look at the Volkswagen electric vehicles, they've already had a bunch of problems with them breaking down and not working, right? And they're afraid of competition. Hey, I thought we were supposed to live in a capitalistic, competitive market. If you make a better mousetrap, people come and buy it from you, right? But now the Europeans are tariffing them too. Well, that's not fair to our crappy European mousetraps, right? This is the ultimate in hypocrisy. They're talking about, we're buying electric cars to save the planet, right? Well, the planet is the whole planet, right? Not just where you are, the entire planet. Well, they want to save the planet, but the cheap Chinese electric cars that would save the planet faster, right? They don't like that because, it's not fair to our workers. Hey, you're supposed to be saving the planet. I guess it's only your part of the planet, right? This shows the ultimate hypocrisy of these clowns that are claiming that electric cars are going to save the planet. Ask any scientist, they'll tell you they're not going to save the planet. The tiny amount of energy that they save. Most of the pollution in this world comes from corporate stuff. Big businesses, building things, factories, not from us driving cars. The pollution of cars is less than 20% of the pollution that goes out. And if you put electric cars in, you're only going to save, if anything, a small percentage of that 20%. Right? But they're all dreaming, we're going to save everything. And now, well, the Europeans, we can't save the planet if it's because we're buying cheap Chinese cars. Hey, if they cost less, you're going to save the planet even better because more people will buy them, right? I thought your whole thing was have as many people as possible buy electric cars. No, not if they're too cheap and they come from China. Hypocrisy reigns in Europe too. Well, Toyota took a big dump in their value. They lost over $15 billion in stock market value after they were caught falsifying those tests. A big deal where they faked all kinds of stuff with their testing, and the head of Toyota apologized. But hey, as far as I'm concerned, this is a hot job because the classic Japanese apology is hara-kiri, right? They don't go that far anymore. He just bowed and apologized. That's all you get now. You don't get the full Monty out of this, right? Now, Mazda only lost $51 million in value because they did the same kind of thing, but it's such a smaller company. They didn't lose as much money, right? The Japanese are learning. They can't do the same stuff the German did with their smog certification, with that diesel gate they had in the world in the United States that cost Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche a whole bunch of money for cheating on their diesel stuff. Well, hey, maybe time's catching up with them and they can't just make up stuff. Maybe it's all made up, right? It's a dream. We're living in a dream. It's all made up, and we'll wake up like, whoa, there won't be any cars. We'll be in a cave somewhere. Well, Uber lost one of their challenges in California. They were trying to say, hey, oh, no, our workers, they're not really our workers. They're independent contractors, right? Well, come on. They're driving for Uber. It's just the way for Uber not to have to pay Social Security, give them benefits, health benefits, stuff like that. You know, it's just a scam that they're pulling. But it's a big corporation. In general, they got a lot of power. So, you know, they get the politicians in their back pocket and the backroom deals. But at least the U.S. Appeals Court said that we're rejecting a bid by Uber to say they're independent contractors. They're not employees. Well, come on. They're driving Uber. They're sending you money. You know, it's just an excuse to pay them less. Uber tried it on a technicality and they lost. Their thing was the 2020 state law unfairly singled out app-based transportation companies while exempting other industries. Let's say, well, you're only going after us. You're not going after everybody else. Win-win. The judge says, not forget that. Right? Me, I personally don't understand it because they have labor laws in the United States that if you're a company of such a size, your workers can't all be non-employees. They can't all be contract workers, right? I used to do stuff in Houston with the local TV affiliate, right? And they tried getting rid of a bunch of people and replacing them as contract workers, right? But then the government came down and said, you can't do that. You're a big corporation. You got all these employees. You got to have real employees. You can't just say they're all contract workers. Now, the ABC station in Houston got away with more stuff. Like they fired a bunch of their cameramen and then hired them back as contract laborers. The same people, just paid them less, right? I mean, these corporations are scumbags. We all know that. Now, the gist of the whole thing is because employees are entitled to minimum wage, overtime pay, reimbursement for expenses, and other protections. These are not extended to independent contractors. And of course, you know, this will go on in court. Corporations have a lot of money. They don't want to pay the workers, but they'll pay lawyers to make them pay the workers less because they have money and lawyers and they can do whatever they want. But there's always ways of getting even. There are many ways to get even with these corporations. Don't buy their products. Then if somebody had a national let's not use Uber day because they don't treat their workers right, guess what? And people don't use them. Uber's not going to make any money and the company will go to business and someone else will take their place. Now here's an email from one of your viewers who didn't listen to me and bought a Kia, but now he says he's going to buy a Toyota next time. Listen to this. Johnny Reap says, our 2024 Hyundai came with complimentary oil changes for 3 years or 36,000 miles. The sales bot didn't mention the fine print, of course. The free oil changes are only on normal maintenance schedule, which is every 8,000 miles. The trick is nobody qualifies for the normal mixed schedule. Just regularly driving short trips of less than 5 miles puts you in the severe usage schedule of every 5,000 miles. No problem till you get it for your second oil change at 10,000. It's free, right? No. It has to be within 1,000 miles or 1 month of the normal schedule to be done for free. So at 10,000 miles, you're either 2,000 miles over or 6,000 miles under the recommended interval of 8 8,000 miles. Bottom line, the free oil change and filters is a scam. Future Toyota owner. You know, that's all scams. They want to get you. Some of these companies, they give you free oil change for life, right? And every time you come in, they try to sell you thousands of dollars worth of crap you don't need. They want to get you in there to sell you stuff, right? And I've seen the same thing at Toyota dealerships. They oh, you're not the right interval, blah, 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 blah. That's why I make my videos. If you learn how to maintain your cars yourself, you don't have to deal with these idiots in the first place. You know, every time you go in, especially when a car gets to be older, things happen eventually, but they're going to sell you stuff you don't even need. I've had people go to dealerships, and they were given a list of what needs to be done, like $3,000 worth of stuff. And they bring the car to me and say, Scotty, what do I need to do? And I look at it and I say, well, you don't need to do this right away, but the brakes would be a couple $100, and that's it. And they say, I'll go ahead and do it. I say, well, if you want, I will. You don't need it right away, right? But they tell them, and then they need $3,000 worth of work. You got to stay away from these people. They're just salesmen selling you things you don't need under the guise of free oil changes. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.